Hey, sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this Saturday morning, ready to talk some college football news and storylines for 2026. I'm here this morning with my man, SEC Sean. You see, he's rocking that United States of America hat representing the World Cup that's taking place in the States right now. How you feeling this morning? SEC Sean.
Feeling good. A little tired. Was up till about 2 o'clock this morning watching the end of the Paraguay-Turkey game because I wanted to know the results for the boys from the United States. Man, we got to keep plugging along in this World Cup. And other than that, but I wasn't going to miss this cast. I saw some of the questions you put yesterday, and I knew there was some shots fired at my Aggies, and I had to be on here for this.
I'm glad to see you here this morning. We also got our man, One Take Zaya. He'll be joining us here in a second. He had to jump off the screen. He's working on some of the technical difficulties we got in the background. But if you're watching from WTP Sports Dudes on YouTube, you can always hit us with a super chat if you like. So that way we can get right to your question immediately. Let's see if our man, One Take Zaya, is ready to join the show. Yeah, let me see if he's ready. One Take Zaya, how you feeling this morning? Okay, maybe he's still in the background. Let's wait until he's ready to join, and then we'll bring him in. Let's go ahead and talk about what you've seen so far in the World Cup before we get into our questions that we have. What's your thoughts on how the United States has been playing? And is there a team out there that you think might be the odds-on favorite to win it all?
Well, we'll answer the second question first. Odds-on favorite. Coming into the tournament, it was Spain, but they didn't look real good. I'm waiting to see how they look in their second match. But right now, I mean, you've got to lean France. I think France is probably my pick to win the whole thing right now. But there's a few teams on it's kind of like college football. You've got those teams at the top, and then you have a gap, and then the next tier, and then a gap. And that's kind of where it is. And the way the U.S. is playing, this is probably the best U.S. men's national team I've seen in years, if not ever, to be honest. They've already won Group D. They're going to play a third-place team from there's a group of 5 different teams they could play. They're going to play a third-place team in the next round, which is the knockout round. They have one game left in the group, but it means nothing. Nobody else can win the group. The U.S. has already clinched it, so that's done. This is the first time since 1930 that the U.S. has won its first 2 games. Ironically, that was the last time the U.S. made the semifinals in the World Cup. The furthest we've been since then is the quarterfinals in 2002. I think it was 2002, may have been 2010. One of those two. I'd have to go back and look, but this team looks very connected. Crisp passes, put pressure on the ball when the other team has it. They force lots of turnovers. You beat a team that likes to play very physical in Australia. There were some calls that could have gone Australia's way. I'll say that. There was some calls that could have gone the U.S.'s way. Missed calls happen in every sport. I'm sorry to say it. But to beat a very physical, pretty good Australia team, 2-0 without our player Curt Cignett, who has got a calf injury. May not seem like much, but playing soccer, a calf injury is pretty brutal because you're constantly running. So He sat out for precautionary reasons. I don't expect him to play in the next match because, again, it doesn't mean anything. You need him fully healthy. But this U.S. team, just there's a different aura around them. And if you're not tuned in, I know soccer is not a big sport in the U.S. It's probably the 5th or 6th most popular sport watched here. But, man, tune in and watch. This team's fun to watch. They play, to me, they're my dark horse to win this thing. That's what I would say about the U.S. men's team is they're the dark horse to come on and just win the whole thing.
Yeah, I know for many of us who like all the sports, we really feel like soccer is starting to pick up, especially with so many people coming in from other countries, moving into the United States. Like if you go to any of our parks here in Columbus, Ohio, there's very rarely you don't see people from other countries playing soccer out there in some of these parks everywhere you go. So I'm glad to see that it's picking up. I played it when I was younger, when I was before I got into my teens. I played a lot of soccer, and I really liked the game. I wasn't that great at it because I was a defensive guy. I went down there and scored no goals like some of my homies were, but I always liked the game. So I'm glad to see it's picking up and it's starting to become one of the better sports that people like to watch here in the United States. So I'm glad to see that that's happening. We got our man One Take Zaya with us here this morning as well. How you feeling, One Take Zaya?
I'm solid. I'm solid. Hey, Sean, that hat is crazy, man. I gotta stay it on screen again. Screen again.
I gotta do it. I gotta show the love for the men's national team, man. I gotta give them something. Plus, even if I wear my A&M hat, you're gonna tell me it's ugly. So I figured I'd go with something different to see what kind of response I get that way.
That's definitely a better hat than the A&M hat. I can tell you that now.
Facts. Well, let's
Your
get into
opinion
some of
doesn't
these
count
questions.
on that matter, Robert.
I know. I know that's right. Let's get into some of the questions, man. And I've heard this question thrown around quite a bit, and I want to get y'all's take on it. Is Curt Cignett the best coach in college football? Is he numero uno?
Nah, I'm gonna say he not, man. I just think he got some more years to prove it. He did what he did last year, and what he's done at Indiana so far in these 3 years is definitely outstanding. To turn that program around, who was really a doormat in college football. But man, you got some guys out here that got real years under their belt, like Kirby and even Ryan Day, who's proven that they can do it for a decade, or decades at a time. So I just think even though he did it, that he was doing it at James Madison, and that wasn't as a prominent program as a Power Four school, and he wasn't on the main stage doing it. But I just think he got to stack some years, bro. I like, your GOAT is LeBron James. One thing we don't argue about is longevity. I like to see people do it over a period of time, though.
Yeah, is he the best coach in college football? No. Was he the best coach last year? Make that case, of course. Zay said it exactly right. Kirby's done it. Georgia's been in the mix forever since Kirby's, been there. Ryan Day always has Ohio State at the top. Look at even Marcus Freeman over at Notre Dame. I don't think he's the best in college football. He's probably he's in the top 5 right now, but he needs to. I need to see him do it more than 1 year. Do it again, not even necessarily win the national title, but put Indiana in the playoff, put Indiana in the semifinals, this year, put them, next year. And then we can start moving him into the discussion. But even then, until he wins a couple of national titles, he's not going to pass Kirby Smart.
Man, I'm gonna say this, and I get both of y'all's point because that's a really valid point. The fact that he hasn't done it over a projected period of time, it's only been 2 years. But when I look at the fact that this guy went to what was considered one of the worst college football programs in the country, and we named a lot of really good coaches, but they went to programs that were not one of the worst programs in the country. Freeman has not won a national championship yet. He's been, but he hasn't won it. Curt Cignett has been at Indiana for 2 years. Both years he made the college football playoffs. In his second year, he won the freaking college football playoffs. Many of us think Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. How long did it take him to take Georgia to a national title? Now, he won 2 straight, but he hasn't been back since. I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy took the worst freaking program in college football to 2 straight playoff appearances and won a national championship. He has to be considered the best coach in college football. I know he hasn't had the record yet, the projected time that he's been head coach there, but man, if he does it this year, makes the college football playoffs in a loaded Big Ten with a team that may not be as good as those first 2 he had, we really gonna have to say Curt Cignett might be the best coach in college football. Let's give him 1 more year, and then maybe we can crown him, or maybe 2 more, and we can crown him. But I think he's got a really strong case to be considered the best coach in college football, taking the Indiana team to a 16-0 record national championship.
Well, my response to that, my quick response to that, Rob, would be look at what he had in the age of the players he had. He had a bunch of older players from his old school. Let's see what he does having to build it without all that. That's my point with we need to see it more, because you can bring all your players. Like if Ryan Day left Ohio State and went to Kentucky and took all his players from Ohio State, Kentucky's going to probably win a national title. But if he has to rebuild it, let's see what he can do. That's my holdback on Cignett. Phenomenal coach, done an amazing job at Indiana, but I need to see what he can do out there recruiting and bringing in his own.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, that's a perfect case to determine whether or not he's number one or not. So we all understand everything you're saying, and thank you for adding that extra take to it. Let's look at our next question. What's the number one thing you look for to determine if a head coach is a great head coach? Let's start with you on this one, SEC, Sean.
Anybody not named Jimbo Fisher? Oh, is that too soon? Character, recruit. They have to be able to recruit. I know the transfer portal and all that's there. If you don't have the depth through your high school recruiting, you're never going to matter. So you got to be able to recruit, and not just recruit stars. You have to be able to recruit people that fit your culture and system that you're putting in place. And a coach has to uphold a culture. He almost has to be the CEO of a football team in these days and ages. So to me, and I'm going to use Mike Elko as an example, what he walked into versus what he's built is totally different. And I know there's another question coming up that'll get more into that. But he has to be able to recruit, build a culture, and to me, develop. You have to develop players because those 3 tie together. if you're not developing these 5-star players or 3-star players or 2-star players and getting them to the draft in the NFL, you're not going to keep recruiting those players because they want to go somewhere that can get them to that. So development, culture building, and recruiting are what I'm going to look for in a head coach.
Okay. One take, Zed, what's your number one thing you look for to determine if a head coach is a great head coach?
Yeah, I'm trying to see how your team perform well in big games. I think that's the telltale sign of who the better coaches is out here. Especially some of these head coaches that's, supposed to be one of these great offensive minds or defensive minds. Like, how does that unit show up in big games? Not specifically always the whole team, because if you got, like, for instance, let me just throw a name out there. Dan Lanning, for instance. We're going to take Dan Lanning. We all know Dan Lanning is a good coach, but me personally, I'm not putting Dan Lanning. I'm not as high on him as everybody else. He's not about to be top 4 or 5 coaches for me throughout the country because every time it comes to crunch time, his defense just get rolled on. It get rolled on. Now, top 10, I'm going to take him as a top 10 coach, but man, when it comes to them crucial moments, man, his unit don't perform, and that's just how I look at it when I'm talking about a coach. Kirby. I mean, what is Kirby? Is he an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator for real? Like, what is
Defense.
he? Defense.
Yeah,
We
defense.
know what Georgia defense. That's what I'm saying. We know what Georgia defense is gonna look like every year for real. Ryan Day had some of the most potent offenses. We went and took Georgia to the brink back with C.J. Stroud, and we didn't have no defense that year. But that offense put up 42 points. You know what I'm saying? So that is things like that I'm looking at.
Yeah, both of you have some really good takes on that, and I think the thing that's number one for me comes later on down the line in a coach's head coaching career when he start having other guys who are his coordinators start getting head coaching jobs elsewhere. But before then, what you both said in terms of development, in terms of when you're facing teams in big games, does your side of the ball perform well like it's supposed to? I think both of those are two really, really good number one things that you both mentioned. So hopefully, we'll start to see some of these coaches really start to continue to develop the players that they have on their roster, and we start to see some of these coaches go to other places. I know when you talk about these coaches, and another coach probably having their number. When I think about Steve Sarkisian, and I'm like, man, this is a year you got a lot of talented players. You play Ohio State, you got to get over that hump. The last 2 times you played Ohio State, they held you to 14 and the 7 points. And you're an offensive guy. So that point that you made, one take, is spot on. You got to be able to score more points. Now, we understand that this is Ohio State, and that's one of the top teams in the country every year, year in and year out. But you got to win those games. You can't lose a third one when you face them this year. And if they make the SEC championship game and they face Georgia, they got to get over the Kirby Smart hump. They got to be able to win those kind of games, man. And his offense has got to be able to show up week in and week out. And we didn't see that last year with that Steve Sarkisian offense at Texas. So the points y'all both made were really, really good points. Let's look at our next question. How much is having a number one recruiting class based on NIL?
You saying like a dollar amount?
Like going out there and spending a lot of money on a lot of players. Like we saw you at USC last year, possibly pulling the number one recruiting class because they spent a lot of money and they spent a lot of money on a lot of players. This year, it looks like it's going to be somebody else. And because they don't have the players on their roster right now, they got to go out and spend a lot of money on some high school guys. Do you think that is the reason why teams or universities are having number one recruiting classes because of how much they have to spend to replenish their football team.
I mean, recruiting NIL does play a big role and factor, but when you look at the recruiting rankings, you still see the same foes. It's not like it really didn't change where these players really want to go for real. It's the same foes. Um, it's just a little twist, like because maybe some years ago, Bama would probably be in the top 3 to 5 every year. Georgia would too, but now you're seeing a lot of these Texas schools with a lot that got a lot of money. Not that they wouldn't be in the rankings. I just think kind of like the placement of where you will see a team. It's still the same top 25 though. Like literally, like it's just the placement of where guys are on that list. But like when we talk about recruiting, I don't really pay attention. Like USC, amazing class. They definitely had a good class, but they only got that number one spot off of sheer numbers. They needed a lot of bodies, I guess, because they lost a lot. So I mean, I think they brought in like 34 high school recruits or something crazy like that. I like to look at
Yeah.
blue chip ratio. So top 300 guys. Um, who's really leading the metrics in the average rating for blue chip guys. Um, but I mean, like Ohio State, for instance, I think people are starting to realize that yeah, we got NIL, but the transfer portal was so jacked up that some of these schools they go get the real high caliber 4-star guys. But I think a lot of these schools are starting to realize that you got to recruit them 3-star guys too, that you got to develop, and you just take a flyer on to see if he can pan out to be one of these guys that was probably less recruited than what they should have been. So it's I don't know. The recruiting stuff still ain't settled itself all the way. I think they got to still put in some bylaws with everything because I don't think people should be spending 5, 6, 7 million on high school kids for a recruiting class when it's only 25 to 30 kids that you about to bring in. I don't think I think that money need to really go towards sophomores and juniors and seniors, people that's already been in the program. I don't think freshmen, unless you got a Jeremiah Smith or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
What's your
mean,
take on that one, SEC?
well, I mean, you're right. I do believe there needs to be some sort of bylaw put in for this, but does NIL have an? Of course, it has an effect. Now, how much of an effect? I'm sure it's a pretty big effect, but here lately, more than recently, and I'm going to speak based on Texas stuff because that's where I spent most of my time as far as recruiting goes. A lot of times, and back in the day, it was kids wanted to go their legacy type kids, or the team had a good year. Between Texas and Texas A&M, whoever won that game back in the day got the recruiting bump from it. Same, I'm sure, with Ohio State, Michigan, or any other rivalry game. But now these kids with all the social media are, okay, I'm going to commit to this school, and then I'm going to start going to all the other guys that I've been at these camps with, that I've become friends with from all over the nation, and I'm going to start recruiting them. So it's more of like the recruits are recruiting the recruits. A&M right now, as an example, has the number one recruiting class based on rankings. Now, these kids haven't put pen to paper yet. I've mentioned this in our group chat. I don't hold recruiting stuff until that pen hits the paper. We've seen it too many times. Last day, last minute flips. I'm not putting anything to it. But if you look at it, it's Mark Matthews. I think the offensive lineman, number one offensive tackle out of Miami, Florida, comes to A&M and immediately says, I'm not done. And he goes and starts getting Caden Henderson, who just committed the other day. They were talking about trying to convince Meredith, which I thought was going to stay with Texas, but they're working together to recruit people to make their class not only special, but build something special for the future. But NIL does have a part in it. You're not getting these 5-star blue chip players for, like back in the day, $20,000. You're not getting them for that. You're getting these guys for $2 to $3 million. But something has to be done, because that's going to just destroy college football, because the money eventually is going to run out. The guys are not going to want to spend that money. So, but Zay's right. That's why I said with the head coach about recruiting, you've got to be able to get the 2, the 3, the no stars, the overlooked kid, and develop him into, oh, you were a 1-star in high school, but by the time you leave college, you're now an All-American. You have to develop that kid, because you have to have depth. Big Ten, SEC, you're not running through there with 22 guys on 11 guys on each side of the ball. You're going to have some serious depth throughout your roster to survive those schedules. So,
yeah, let's look at our chat and get a couple of statements and comments and questions out of our chat. Our man Nicholas said that a hot take, I like Oregon to get out of the Big Ten this year. What's y'all's thoughts on that? Do y'all see Oregon getting out of the Big Ten this year? I think they're one of the top teams in the Big Ten, but what do y'all think?
I don't.
We got an over and under show tomorrow. If you want to tune back in tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
We'll touch on a couple of those type of topics.
Just to answer his question while I'm here, they are going to be a good team, but I think Zay mentioned it earlier about they kind of fold when the pressure gets big. So we need to see what happens, but I don't. I think that conference runs through Columbus, Ohio, to be honest with you. I think Ohio State is primed. I think they're the odds-on favorite for sure. So, but yeah, definitely tune in tomorrow if we got some over and under stuff going. That ought to be a good debate show there.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon definitely has the players, and they have a good staff, even though they lost their offensive and defensive coordinator. But they're hired within, so there shouldn't be a whole lot that changes. I think they're going to be one of the top 2, 3, 4 teams in that conference, probably within the top 3 for sure. But we have to wait and see, because Oregon has a history, like One Take said, being really, really good during the regular season, and then when they get down to that playoff time, they don't do so well once they meet some of that high caliber competition. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I think Oregon's going to be really good.
Let me ask you a quick question, Robert and Zay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Oregon promoted from within for offensive and defensive stuff, right? Coordinators.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is nobody talking about that? But when A&M did it, everybody said it was the wrong deal.
Say it one more time. You broke up a little bit.
Well, I'm saying, did y'all promote it within?
Yeah.
I'm not
saying y'all did. I'm not saying y'all did. I'm not saying, but the national perspective is Oregon hired from within for offensive and defensive coordinators the same way A&M did, and everybody was questioning A&M's but not Oregon's.
You know what though? Post game, who's a WTP Sports Dude's brother, go follow his channel as well. You know, he has a problem with Oregon and them losing both of their coordinators. You know, so he probably got a problem with y'all losing both of y'all's coordinators as well. You know, I'm just saying, it's everybody got a different flavor. I don't mind when people lose their coordinator when they hire within. I think when you hire within, you keep everything intact. It's not like they haven't been around the program. I'd be worried and concerned when you bring in a whole new OC or DC. They got a whole new philosophy that they got to teach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. Let's look at our next question that was out. Next statement that was out there for Time 18188. He says, spending the money is good for the betting community. 10 more money. Maybe he's saying spend more money to come to the program. That's the NCAA is about money. Yeah, we know the NCAA is definitely about that bread. That's for sure. Our man postgame said, recruiting is still about relationships. The margin for what these kids can get from different schools isn't overwhelming. NIL plays a part, but relationships is still king. What y'all think about that?
That's spot on. I mean,
That's spot on. I think
you gonna tell me that there's a recruit out there in Texas, Ohio State, and A&M and Notre Dame want him, and you're gonna tell me we're all not gonna evaluate him at the same kind of money range? It's a matter of where's he got the best relationship. If you offer him $1 million, Rob, and we offer him 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3 for the other schools, it's going to be about the relationship. Now, if somebody comes in and throws $5 million at him, he's probably going to be swayed a little bit, but the money is going to be about the same. These schools are going to evaluate these kids on money about the same, I think.
Hey, and let me throw post game. He said he don't have a problem with it. He only questioned how if it would affect the team. Well, I ain't mean to say problem necessarily. Just a slight concern. Slight concern. My bad for putting those type of words in your mouth.
Our man Anthony Manzano, how likely is it that you guys think my Hurricanes can get to the #1 overall recruiting class?
Anthony, bro, them rankings don't really mean nothing. What you want for real is your class to have a high ratio of average blue chippers. So, for instance, Ohio State is sitting at like 6 right now, but if you average out the blue chip ratio, we like second or third with a 92.67 blue chip ratio. You want the majority of them guys to be blue chippers, top 300 guys, because typically speaking, we know stars don't really matter if you do your scouting department is doing their job. But the likelihood of those 5-star, 4-star guys to turn out to be NFL caliber players is much higher than when you keep moving down the list. So really, you just want blue chippers. It's not really about being in #1 spot. You just want to have a lot of blue chippers. That's it.
Right. And I agree with that 100%. How likely is it that I think the Hurricanes get the #1 overall recruiting class? Not very. Mainly because A&M's coming into Florida and taking everybody out of there. So, but you're right. I mean, the recruiting rankings don't matter. Go back to 2022. All time #1 recruiting class under Jimbo Fisher, did nothing with it. Got himself fired. So rankings are fun. They're good to talk about for guys like us, but without the right coach to develop those rankings mean nothing.
Yeah, let's go into our next question, and then we'll go back into the chat again for some more comments. It says, are universities looking to lock players in with multi-year NIL contracts or deals? Let's start with you on that one take.
Yeah, I think that's the whole setup of it. We trying our hardest over here, man, to get David Gabriel Georges, but it looked like Tennessee is about to outbid us again for another player. But we hearing that he got a $6 million NIL deal, and that's for 3 years. So $2 million a year on average. I think we only got up to about 1.5. So we'll see what happened with him, but I think all these deals be, especially for the top guys, they be multi-year deals. They're not deals for, just 1 year. They're multi-year deals. They coming in and saying, you're going to get this year 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I think you almost have to in this day and age with the transfer portal. If the bill does get passed to limit the transfers to 1, maybe this stops some of that. But I think if you're a head coach, you have to be going after these 5 stars and being like, yeah, you can come here. Yes, we'll give you $4 million, but you're going to be here 2 years, or you're going to be here 3 years. If you leave, you have to pay back whatever money was left or whatever. You know, there's going to be buyouts on these players with these contracts if they leave. You saw Cincinnati was trying to go after Brendan Sorsby for $1 million because he broke out of his second year of the contract. So I believe multi-year contracts are in play. I just don't think we hear about them as much. You know, they don't get announced.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, but what I was going to say to finish that real quick, it popped into my head when I stopped talking for a second. But a lot of the deals with these recruits, especially, is you're not going to know about the NIL stuff until they sign, because nothing can be given to them until they sign. So once they sign, you'll start hearing about, oh, we got Mark Matthews he signed for 3 years for $7 million. Oh, okay. It'll be like, you know, regular contracts. They're going to be announced as to what they are, I think. So I think that's where we are now.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go as well, and I think more universities are going to do that. The thing that I hope that they get fixed about that situation is, though, that a person like Darian Mensah shouldn't be able to get out of a contract he's already got signed with Duke. And of course, we saw Washington's quarterback Williams try to do the same thing as well. He wasn't able to get out of his, but at the same time, universities shouldn't be allowed to try to lure guys out after they didn't have this season. If they're under contract with somebody, they should be left alone. Nobody should be able to reach out to their agent to try to lure them out of their contract that they already signed. If it was good enough for you to sign in, then you should hold on to that and be true to it, and not be trying to go somewhere else just because you got an opportunity to maybe go to a better situation and even for more money. I don't think that's cool. Our man Anthony Manzano had a question for us. He said, I have a question for you guys. Does the institution have a responsibility for the player if they knew had a bad situation, how bad a situation has gotten, and they didn't do anything? This applies to the situation with gambling addiction the Sorsby has, because I feel Indiana and Cincinnati must have known how bad his gambling addiction was, and they didn't do anything. Do you think the institution should be, like in this instance, Cincinnati and Indiana, should be responsible for this whole situation with Sorsby?
I do not think Indiana does. He was there. He never played. I mean, do they know he was betting? Who knows? Because he was an afterthought at the quarterback position at that point. That's why he left and went to Cincinnati. Now he goes to Cincinnati. All signs point that Cincinnati knew he was gambling and said nothing because he was winning football games. So should something be done to Cincinnati? If it is proven that they knew he was gambling on games while he was there, then I fully believe they need to be in at least a postseason ban or something needs to happen. Something needs to happen to him if they knew and they just turned the other cheek because, hey, he's winning us a few football games. That's just my take. If you know about it, something needs to be done. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek because Kirby doesn't do anything, and he knows what's going on in Georgia with his guys who can't keep their foot off the gas pedal, and nothing comes from that. So a little bit different situation, speeding versus, gambling. But part of me is like, if Kirby would say, hey, you're suspended for 2 games for because you were caught reckless driving, that may stop some of that. But, but yeah, I do think Cincinnati needs some sort of something against them if they knew about it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sean. It's all about what did they know, you know? It's always about what type of information the program knows about what's going on. Because really you can't control. I mean, I get that these kids are, they're not really kids, they're above 18, but they're young. They're young men, so you can't really control what they're doing in their spare time. But if you knew and there was no form of discipline, that's when I think the NCAA got to step in. But the NCAA ain't got no muscle, man. It's still hard for them to penalize anybody because they ain't got no teeth in the game for real.
But it could be the Big 12 could put a postseason ban on them themselves.
Yeah, I couldn't see them doing that because that's going to make the team exit from the conference, and that's your team that got the most money. I don't think you want to do that if you're the Big 12. That's kind of like biting your own hand, and you biting your own hand with that one. I feel like.
Well, to put sanctions on Cincinnati would prove that, okay, they knew something was wrong. But I don't see him putting sanctions on Texas Tech for it because he left. He's not with the program anymore. But, I mean, Cincinnati, I could see the Big 12 saying we need to take a stand on this and see. But I don't know. That's hard to say because Cincinnati's probably going to be in a bowl game. So that's going to be money you're losing out on revenue-wise. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. I thought it was crazy that Sorsby's agent immediately threw Cincinnati under the bus when it went down. As soon as he went to the supplemental draft, his agent was out there straight up. Well, Cincinnati knew about it and didn't do anything. He immediately diverted, which is what an agent's supposed to do. Like a PR guy, take the attention off of your client and put it somewhere else.
Yeah. For me, and I know SEC Sean, we love Joey McGuire, old Texas Tech man, 91, 44. We love Joey McGuire. We think he's one heck of a football coach. I just hated the way he did my Longhorns that one year, his first year coaching, when he knew he could take us out in the deep waters in the fourth quarter and called us soft. And they ended up beating us that year. I think that was the year that Bijan Robinson fumbled in overtime and y'all ended up beating us. And y'all went for it on fourth down, maybe like 7 or 8 times. I think 8 times, and they got 7 of the 8. So I think Joey McGuire is one heck of a coach. And I will get to your question for Zay as well, Anthony. I'll get to your question here in a little bit. Let me go to our next question that we have, and then I'll find that one.
As far as Coach McGuire goes, real quick, Tech Man, I've known Coach McGuire, not personally, but I've known about him and watched his career from his days at Cedar Hill High School in Texas, winning state championships. Coach McGuire is one of the most stand-up men in the coaching realm. I said when he got hired at Texas Tech, give him 4 to 5 years, and he's going to have that program change because kids love to play for him. So nothing against Coach McGuire. I have all the utmost respect for that man.
Yeah, for sure. With all the head coaches firings last season, what's your over and under on head coaches firing in 2026? Let's start with you on this one, SEC, Sean.
Are we talking everything or just Power 4?
Power 4, Manly.
I'm going to set it at 4. And I think 2 of them come from the SEC.
I'm gonna go 6.
6.
I just think there was so many changes last year that all these new coaches that are already under new contracts aren't going to get fired. You can go ahead and eliminate Florida, Tennessee, LSU ain't going to fire. I see 2, possibly 3 coming out of the SEC alone. So I'm going to set it at 4 for now. But I'll even tell you, I see Shane Beamer, Josh Heupel, and possibly Pete Golding if Ole Miss falls apart.
Yeah, I think Sig made it real sticky for the whole country.
What about your boy? Oh, you said Beamer already.
Oh yeah, Beamer. Beamer might be the first one to get fired. Did we freeze?
Oh man, we had some technical difficulty. What's your over and under on that one? One take.
Yeah, I said 6. I think Sig made it real sticky for a lot of the coaches across the country. Like people want to see results tomorrow, you know.
Yeah, that is true. At first, before y'all started dropping some of these names in y'all statements, I was thinking only 3, but now that I think about it, yeah, it could be close to 5 or 6 for sure. Definitely 5 or 6, man. And like you said, Sig, he done really put a lot of pressure on some folks, some serious pressure. Who's more likely to finish outside of the top 4 in the Big Ten? USC, Penn State, Michigan, or Iowa? We're gonna
Yeah,
start
I
with you,
mean,
one take. Well, we're gonna go with you, Sean, because one take is a Big Ten guy.
Man, I was hoping to let Zay go first so I could just kind of ride his coattails on this one because this is a tough one. I'm torn between Penn State and Iowa. I'm going to lean Penn State just because of all the turnover. Iowa's just Iowa. I mean, they're always going to be like, they're just kind of buzzing around you like a mosquito. They're just there, and every once in a while, they're going to bite you. And they're going to get somebody big at home, and they're going to beat them. And it's going to vault them up the rankings. So I'm going to lean Penn State just due to the amount of turnover that happened there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Penn State as well, just because of the turnover as well. What's your take on that, one take?
yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Michigan right here, man. One thing I understand is Iowa, they play junkyard football. They're gonna make you play their game, and then Michigan's they got a brutal schedule, low key. You know, they don't have an easy schedule. They got a top 10 schedule ish. You know, so we'll see. They got to make it through that first month, and we'll really know what it's gonna look like. Because if Michigan drop that OU game again this year, they might end up with 4 or 5 losses. But Penn State, I think they got the favor of the schedule. USC is a sleeper team for me to make the college football playoff. So I'm gonna have to roll with Michigan on this one.
Okay. Let's welcome our man, post game of the post game podcast, sports podcast to the show. How you feeling post game?
Hey, I feel good, man. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I got off a little early, man. I figure on the way home I might as well cook with y'all for a second, man. How y'all doing?
Yeah, we
100.
good.
What up with
Doing
it?
good, doing good.
What do you think out of these 4 teams in the Big Ten post game? Who do you think is going to be the best out of these 4? USC, Penn State, Michigan, or Iowa?
Ooh, that's tough. Oh man, I'm gonna say Michigan gonna be the best team. I'm gonna say Michigan. I love the coaching hire. I think they got some pieces to play with. I think they could be right there in the thick of things. I don't think they're good enough to outright win the Big Ten, but I think they can finish top 3 or 4.
Okay. Well, who you think is the best out of those 4 SEC, Sean?
The best out of those 4, I'm going to lean
Yeah.
USC. I'm going to lean
What about
USC.
you, one take?
Yeah, I got USC, but on paper and record wise, at the end of the year, I think that Penn State might have a better record than all these teams.
Is that based on because of their schedule?
Absolutely. They got 3 tough games, and all they got to do is win 1.
Okay. Will there be a new conference champion in the SEC? Start with you, post game.
Absolutely. No, I shouldn't say absolutely, man. That would be disrespectful to Georgia. But I think that this is Texas's year. Everything's on the line for Steve Sarkisian. They went out in the portal. They had some mega additions. I think, Rob, you could attest to this, repping Texas, that I think y'all are kind of disappointed with the season, how the season played out last season. Even though it wasn't terrible, I think the expectations was to make the playoffs last season. But I would have to say, I believe Texas is going to win the SEC this season.
What about you, One Take?
Nah, man, I got Georgia, man. Listen. That Texas schedule is so brutal, man. I just hope y'all stay healthy for real. But I gotta see Georgia get dethroned.
Okay. SEC Sean?
No. Yeah. I think it's Georgia. I think Georgia's loaded. I think that Georgia defense is going to be super nasty. I have Georgia. I have Georgia in the conference championship game, to be honest with you, and then I have a group of 3 teams that all they play each other kind of. A&M doesn't play Ole Miss, but it's A&M, Texas, and Ole Miss in running for the second. I don't think LSU's there this year. I think LSU loses 2 games in conference at least to Texas and A&M at minimum. So, but I think Georgia's just on it right now, and I think whoever comes out of that next with Texas, A&M, and Ole Miss, I don't think any of them beats Georgia.
Yeah, I don't think Georgia is going to be the champion of the SEC this year. I don't even think they're going to make the championship game. I got 2 other teams that's going to be there in that championship game. So Georgia, you're going to take a back seat this year. Taking the back seat, Georgia.
So who you got in your
Our
championship
next question.
Game?
I can't tell you right now.
Come
I know
on, it'll change.
I know one team going to be – this team right here going to be there, going to be the one to win it. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Man.
Get that out of here.
Even with that brutal schedule, they're going to win it all. Who has the better chance of winning their rivalry game? Auburn over Alabama, Michigan over Ohio State, Texas A&M over Texas, or Oklahoma over Texas? Who has the better chance of winning their rivalry game? We're going to start with you, One Take.
Where are these games being played? I know we got Michigan at the crib this year. Where is A&M in Texas?
At A&M.
It's at A&M.
Yeah, I'm a slide with that one right there. You know that you know them. You know how
2
that
years ago and last year. What happened?
Hey, you know how that stadium is, though, Rob. You know how it is, bro. It get crazy over there in SEC country. And outside of their offensive line, really, they got a lot of their pieces back.
Okay. What you say, post game?
My bad, Rob. Can you repeat the teams, please?
Who has a better chance of winning their rivalry game? Auburn over Alabama, Michigan over Ohio State, Texas A&M over Texas, or Oklahoma over Texas?
Jeez, that's tough. If I gotta say who has the best chance, I'm gonna say Auburn. Auburn over Alabama. I don't know what Alabama's gonna be this season, fellas. Ideally, you would think they would blow out of Auburn, but Auburn can be a sneaky team this season. And if we talking about just pure chances, I think Auburn has the best chance to win their rivalry game this season.
What you say, SEC?
You really need me to answer this?
I do.
It's A&M, and I don't know that there's any other option on here that's viable. It's at College Station. They mentioned how that can be. What's coming back? I can tell you this: A&M has the third most returning offensive production coming back in the SEC. And then they have like the seventh defensive coming back, but yeah, I think it's A&M. I think it's at home. I'm not going to be surprised if that game isn't kind of just played for nothing, because I think it could be a possibility where those two teams are already locked into the SEC championship game, and that game really means nothing except for pride. So it's A&M, and it's Oklahoma. I don't think stands a chance against Texas. So give me A&M.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Auburn over Alabama as well. But I do think A&M has a really good chance of beating Texas too, even though that Texas team is going to be really, really good. You got to travel to Cal Field, where we already know what's that's like. But I'm going to give Auburn a better chance against Alabama than I am going to give Texas A&M over Texas. We got a couple of more questions, and then we're going to go to some of the statements by our man Anthony Manzano.
Let me give you one more thing to remember about that A&M Texas game real quick. Remember, not only is it at Kyle Field, that's also your 8th consecutive SEC game, and it's our 4th. That's a big, big difference.
Yeah. That's going to be tough for Texas to be able to navigate, man. I'm hoping that when they have some of the lesser caliber teams in the SEC that they're going to face, they're going to be able to possibly get those games over with quickly so that they can probably rest some of their key players. But it's not a lot of that on their schedule, though, that's for sure. Because, week in and week out, those teams in the SEC, just like in all those other conferences, they get up for who they think are considered the best teams in that conference. And it ain't like Texas is just heads above everybody in that conference. So we're gonna have to wait and see, but that's going to be a tough thing for them to navigate, going through a straight 8-game SEC gauntlet with no freaking buys. Texas coach Steve Sarkisian said Texas might consider canceling their home game, their home with Notre Dame. What's your thoughts on that? And we're going to start off with you, SEC Sean.
Pure scaredness. It's pure scared. He's scared. He said, well, we done got beat by Ohio State twice. I don't want to lose 2 more to Notre Dame. So he said, we're out. We want to go play Abilene Christian some more. And maybe he's trying to get out of it to put Texas Tech on the schedule. I don't know. But no, I'm just kidding. I think this is the era we're in with college football playoff. Coaches are starting to realize that scheduling a Notre Dame is not something that's I mean, it shouldn't hurt you because Notre Dame's going to be a premier program, one of the premier programs every year. So it shouldn't really hurt you, much like the Ohio State thing. Everybody said that hurt Texas last year. Really, it was Florida that hurt Texas last year. But I think coaches are going to try to get away from this, and I don't agree with that at all. But they want to find somebody easier to beat. Bad case, they want to play Virginia Tech or something. They don't want to play Notre Dame. So no offense to Virginia Tech Hokie fans in the chat, by the way, but that's just how I feel. I think it's going to take away some of these premier non-conference matchups that we could get every year because coaches don't want to lose.
Yeah, I've already
What's
told
your take
Rob.
on that?
I've already told you, bro. Y'all lose to us this year. Y'all taking all them futures off, all of them, because it like they say it don't hurt you. And yeah, Sean, it was Florida, but still, if you had that one extra win on your schedule, you wouldn't have been in that predicament regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it listen, I just don't see no way y'all don't take some of these futures off and start scheduling like Northwesterns. All y'all got to do is play any Power Four school. It wouldn't really make sense. I mean, you got to look out for the best interests of your program. So if you don't schedule Ohio State, last year, and you played Michigan State, that's 10-2. That's a playoff team.
Yeah. What's your thoughts post game being a Notre Dame fan?
The goal of any big school nowadays is to make the playoffs, right? So, and I'm gonna paraphrase something Don Staley said. What's the sense of us going out here and scheduling these tough out of conference games and y'all not giving us the benefit of it? Win, lose, or draw. So I get it. I think a lot of pro or college football teams are going to get to a situation where they don't want to schedule bigger outer conference teams because it's not helping their case. Why would I go play Notre Dame when I can play McNeese or somebody, North Carolina, A&T, one of these schools, get a victory? That way, when I get in the conference play, I can lose a game or two, and we still got a chance to make the playoffs. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree 1000% too, man. If you don't schedule those big time non conference games, I don't want to see them go away, but I just think the landscape that the college football playoff committee put us in last year, where they said strength of schedule was going to matter, and they had a case where they could have shown that it mattered, and but they didn't let those coaches know at some of these Power Four schools that why you need to schedule those big time games. Yeah, the fans are going to want to see them. The fans are going to love it, but the ultimate goal is to make it to the college football playoffs with an opportunity to win the national championship. And if you don't make it to the college football playoffs, you have no chance of winning the national championship. So the number one goal is to get there. So I think that they're going to definitely take a strong look at what their schedule looks like in the future, and probably start dropping some of them games, like you all said as well. What four players will be in New York for the Heisman ceremony? We're gonna start with you, Post.
Man, I think, you know what, Rob? I think this is a year we can see five. I really do. There's a ton of great quarterbacks out here. I think we spoke on this Thursday evening. There is a ton of who I think are going to be like studs at quarterback this season. So I can see the Heisman ceremony, having 5 players, and I know it's going to be reserved for one wide receiver in Jeremiah Smith, and I can see the rest being quarterbacks. Man, I think it's going to be Arch. I think CJ's going to be there. Jeremiah Smith's going to be there. I think Mensa might creep in there, and it's going to be another quarterback, probably one we don't see coming. But I think we can get 4 or 5 players at the Heisman ceremony this season.
About you,
Yeah,
SEC.
yeah, I fully agree with that post. I could see 5 for sure being there, but to cut it back to 4, uh, Smith obviously is going to be there. I believe Carr and Manning are going to be there. The fourth one is a toss-up. I'd like to lean Chambliss. I feel that Kewan Lacey may steal some thunder from him. So I think they're going to be battling each other for that. So I'm going to go in a different route. And as long as fully healthy, I'm going to put Ahmad Hardy up there.
Who you got, one tape?
I think we're going to see CJ Carr, Darian Mensah, Kewan Lacey, Jeremiah Smith, and I think I'm missing one. Darian Mensah, CJ Carr. Yeah, that's the main four right there for me, though. Yeah, main four.
Okay. I can definitely see 5. I'm thinking when you're looking at all of these players this year who have a chance to have a really, really fantastic season, I can see them inviting 5 because I think the voting is going to be super close. I feel like Jeremiah Smith is probably going to make it there over his teammate saying. So I got Jeremiah Smith being there. I really believe Arch Manning is going to be there, and that's not a homer pick. I think Darian Mensah has a chance to be there as well, along with Oregon's quarterback. I think he has a chance to be in there as well. I think CJ Carr has a chance, but he may possibly get overlooked because of the fact that there's going to be so many talented quarterbacks that they might take away some votes from him. And I feel like he probably won't be able to get there. I like that Lacey pick too as well. That's a possible player in another position that could get there with one receiver, 2 quarterbacks, and then him at the running back position. Anthony Manzano had a question for you, one take, Zay, but we all can take this. He says, Zay, I feel it's a double-edged sword. Continuity is good, but continuity can actually cause stagnation and comfortability. He's talking about that situation with Oregon and then bringing in their hiring from within. What's your take on what his statement is right there in the question that he asked?
I think he got a good point. That's why having a good coach with good leadership and
We losing you, Zay.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
holding people accountable,
Yeah.
boys.
Can't hear you at all. You're cutting in and out real bad. I think, see if you get it fixed. Well, I'll jump real quick so we don't see if he gets going again. Jump back in, please, Zay. I think he's got a good point. Kind of caught bits and pieces of what Zay was saying, where he agrees with what he's saying with the whole coaching and coordinator stuff. I'm in the same boat, so I can speak on this a little more. I like what we did with Holman Wiggins. He was the co-OC last year. He was part OC anyway with Colin Klein. And it's going to be pretty much the same system with a few Holman Wiggins tweets. And anybody that doesn't know Holman Wiggins, remember, he was the wide receiver coach under Nick Saban. So he's pretty good. And he was the co-OC at Alabama during those years too. So I have full faith in him. I'm a little more skeptical on our defensive hire. Yes, but again, I could go be the DC at A&M because Mike Elko is going to tell me what we're doing anyway. So I'm not too worried about it. It's kind of like being the defensive coordinator at Georgia. That's not your defense. You're running Kirby's defense. So that's kind of how I feel about it with that is I think it's more Elko gave Hemphill the job at DC and A&M because he's a master recruiting in Georgia. So, and we know there's a lot of defensive players that come out of Georgia. So I think a lot of that has something to do with it. So we'll just kind of see where that plays out. But I think you're right. Continuity and stuff can make the players feel more comfortable knowing the system's not going to change it's not going to do a full 360 change.
What's your take on that post game? Because I think I might see it a little bit differently. But what's your take on it?
On continuity being hurting the team.
Yeah, could it cause stagnation and comfortability?
Yeah, I think in some cases, but I don't think that's the rule. I think that may be the exception.
Yeah, because I feel like anytime a coach gets promoted up, he's going to try to put his own flavor and his own twist on it, and he's going to bring his own personality to it. Because I'm quite sure his personality might be similar to the coach that's leaving, but I don't think it's going to be the same. So I don't think that's going to be the case. Plus, you're in that position and you're trying to get to your ultimate goal, which is probably to be a head coach somewhere. So I don't think that the stagnation and the comfortability is going to be an issue, especially when you got a head coach like Dan Lanning, who I don't think is going to allow that to happen. He learned from what many of us consider to be the best coach in college football of all times in Nick Saban. So I don't think that's going to be an issue there at Oregon. I think they're going to be just fine, and I don't think there's going to be any stagnation or any comfortability. For one, they ain't won Jack Diddley squat yet. So I think those players that are there, they went there with the mindset that, listen, we want to win the Big Ten, and we got to win the national title because we won the Big Ten before, but we haven't won a national yet. So I think they're going to be fine. I don't think they're going to have any issues with being comfortable or being stagnant at all. Let me see if I got any more statements in there. We talked about that one. Continuity in the double-edged sword. We talked about that one. He was saying that Anthony said he think that the Vegas has the amount of coaches being fired at 6.5 is the over and under. So we was pretty close to Vegas. We might know a little something. We
definitely know something. We definitely know something.
Yeah, we definitely know something. Yeah, we definitely know something.
The rest of the world just ain't caught on with us yet.
Yeah.
I mean, post game the other day or somebody. This little group we got here, WT, we need to be the playoff committee.
That's a fact. Let me see if we got anything else out there.
That's why when we do our rankings, I always say
the SEC crowd. Say it again.
Yeah, he could. I said that's why whenever I do my ranking shows, I always make sure we lead it off with these are the official rankings, that the only ones that matter. These are the true ones because these are coming from fans, not from some person getting slipped hundreds in their pocket. Yeah, now, if somebody wants to slip hundreds in my pocket, I'll definitely vote for you. I'm just saying. I'm not against being bribed.
He says Norvell is definitely probably going to be on that hot seat. We all agree with that one. Old Texas Tech man said Baylor's coach, what is his name? Dang, Dave Aranda. Yeah, he is definitely on the hot seat. He gonna have a whole lot of trust in our man that transferred from Florida. He gonna hope he had to get some things done for him to save his job. Let me see what else we got in there. He said he got 2 quarterbacks going to and 2 receivers going to the he got Tony going to the Heisman Trophy ceremony along with Smith, Manning, and C.J. Carr. That sounds good. Anything else y'all want to discuss before we wrap up? We're right at 1 hour and 15 minutes. I'm trying to see if we got any more questions in there. Anything else y'all want to talk about?
No, I mean, that's a good. That was a bunch of good questions, a bunch of good debate back and forth with those questions today. Really looking forward to tomorrow's show based on what Zay kind of dropped the teaser for the over and under show. That sounds pretty. Could have a pretty good debate. Other than that, I'm going to go prep myself to watch a little more of this World Cup and go from there.
Okay. Anything you want to say before we wrap up, Post?
Yeah, that the statement from Time 8188. This is what I talk about all the time, man. Those media narratives. You never know those people in the media who say things. You never know who paying them off to say it. So I definitely agree that y'all should tap in and listen to us because we gonna give you the truth. We gonna keep it funky, and y'all gonna love it.
Most of those podcasters you see out there, yeah, they do it, and they're getting paid handsomely for it. Some of the bigger ones out there. We're not. We would like to, but we're not there yet. We do it because we love sports and we love to talk about sports.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Thanks you for that time 188 for saying happy Father's Day to all of us. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And everybody make sure that they have a really, really good Father's Day. Well, really, it's Father's Day weekend. Really, you might as well do it up. Have your children rubbing your feet or whatever it is that you like. They better not rub my feet. My feet got hammer time, so they don't want to mess with these feet. But anyway, everybody have a good rest of their day. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Go check us out on Spotify and Patreon at WTP Sports Dudes 2026. Also, our website, we're working on some updates on it right now at WTPSportsDudes.com. Make sure you subscribe to all of our channels scrolling across the bottom. Even though we all come on here as WTP Sports Dudes, we still have our own individual channels that we run and we put content on. So please go out and support us all so we can continue to bring you content like this. We love talking sports. We love being on here talking sports. We love the group of people that we got, and we don't mind bringing in some other people to come on and talk with us as well. So if you have a favorite team and we start doing our team previews and you want to come on the show and we ask you questions about your team, please hit us up at WTP Sports Dudes at gmail.com or at any of the other channels, and we will be happy to send you the link so you can get on and talk about your team and preview their season that's coming up in college football. All right, y'all, have a good rest of your day, and we out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.